What are you willing to do to experience a moment of glory? Welcome to the podcast where we discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith, and I'm here with Jrod and his Dudeness. On today's chapter, we will be discussing the OP news we received from FFG, along with talk about what decks we have been tinkering with and would bring to an event. Dudeness, what was it that you found interesting from FFG's stream?
The biggest thing is that planetary qualifiers will start in October, and that will be the beginning of season 0, which is going to be their first season of the competitive cycle. This first season is going to be mostly sort of a test run. They're going to be using a lot of feedback and tinkering and finding what works out best. There's not going to be a point system for this first season, or this is season 0, as it were. And the point system will only start up in season 1, which will start after the first Galactic Championship. Any of the winners from a planetary qualifier will get an auto invite to day 2 of the Galactic Champion, whenever that is. I think summer of 2025 is when that's scheduled there. So winning the planetary qualifier gets you into that. They said they will be tripling the number of planetary qualifiers worldwide because there was so much demand that will start in set 3. There would be 150 planetary qualifiers in set 3 is what he said. So for set 2, there might not be as many, but in set 3, they're definitely ramping it up and going from there. They're also, I think the most important thing is that they're phasing out this very unfortunate software that they're using now, and they're partnering with another software firm to use their software, but they were talking about how the ink isn't dry on the contract or whatever, so they can't quite share the exact details, but they're phasing out poopy TEC and bringing in something good. So that's might be cool. That's great. That's fantastic. And then really the last thing is they announced the actual judge program. They're going to be partnering with Cascade Games. You guys can apply to a judge right now if you want to via their website. And like that was the main gist of everything that was on the OP stream there.
I actually already signed up to judge.
Season. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying I already signed up to judge on that. And
you already signed up for a judge?
Yeah, and I messaged my because I did the learn to plays for Cascade Games, so I messaged my contact from that. I was like, "Hey, put in a good word for your boy." And he was like, "I got you."
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We hadn't really talked about what we all found interesting from the stream. Jrod and I had talked separately about it, and both the things that we found interesting weren't mentioned by Dudeness. That worked out well. One thing I just wanted to mention, if I heard correctly, in this season 0, there was going to be 150 planetary qualifiers, and in season 1, they wanted to expand it to, I think they said 450, if I understood that correctly.
Maybe, I can't confirm that.
And so that's an interesting thing. When you think about like 150, though 150 sounds like a lot, they did mention that those are going to be worldwide. And so if even let's say a third of those are international and 2/3 are North America, then that's 100 planetaries in North America. If you don't include other North American countries, for being from Canada, I definitely do include Canada, but let's just say for simplicity's sake, most of our listeners are American. Even if every state got 2, that would be 100. So it's not like these will be, it looks like abundant if there's 150 in that first season, in that season 0. So they seem like they will be bigger, more competitive events, which makes sense because they're in the competitive tier side. It looks like they'll still be accessible relatively, because there should be in major cities at least one in your major city in North America at least.
Yeah, I mean, even the 2 per state, I don't even know if that would be a thing, because I doubt that America gets 100 and the rest of the world gets 50. I think it'll probably be broken out a little bit closer to parity.
I don't think Alaska's getting 1, but states like New York, Texas, California, Florida, they might deserve 2.
No, totally. And I think it was that's more just a way of looking at it, just because like you hear a number 150 and think, wow, that sounds so much. We don't know the exact number of how many are going to be in America. And yeah, I would agree. Major cities are going to get more. It's more of, again, just that idea that when you break it down, they're actually not that many. But there'll be, if you're in a big city though, I guess there'll be one or two in your area.
Yeah, I'm excited for the new stuff the new events to come rolling out, some of the bigger events.
And one thing that they kept emphasizing through the whole thing is that give all the feedback as you want through this season 0. They never said the word beta test, but it's a quote unquote beta test for their competitive seasons, and they want to see how it feels to everybody and give feedback all the way through. That's fine. They did mention a couple other things. Top cut rounds were increased to 75 minutes.
Yep, that's good.
Deck lists are not required during Swiss, just during top cuts.
Pause, because you just touched on my biggest thing from the stream. Yeah, I believe that the fact that they changed Swiss to closed deck list can open up a lot of avenues for creative deck building.
Okay.
Because of the game being unlimited and being able to put any cards, I think that people haven't even touched or scratched the surface of the possibilities of, let's say, for example, the popular red deck that's been floating around that everyone's been liking to play lately.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't that deck just randomly want a 1 or a 2 of Power of the Dark Side for 5? Right? Just because you can. Now, if it's open deck list, people can play around it. It's not a big deal. But when it's closed deck list in Swiss, I guarantee you're going to blow people out with that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's no chance you play around Power of the Dark Side in an enemy raid deck.
I've seen some people play against blue-black decks and deploy their leader on a board with 3 resources.
Who would do that?
Yeah.
Not me. Good name podcast, not me, not this guy.
That's actually a really interesting point that you bring up. It lets people be spicier with their decks during the Swiss, hoping to make the top cut with something outside the meta or something specifically designed to take down the meta that people aren't expecting. So that's really cool. I love that point actually. And the very last little thing is they said they added actual tiebreakers for the top cut. I don't know what they are specifically. I don't
think Jesus.
But there are some sort of tiebreakers for that. So I mean, it's getting better, moving away from the less than ideal software they're using before.
Yeah,
giving us better things.
Did they say they got rid of the double loss?
That's a good question. I
thought that's what the tiebreakers were for.
That's kind of what I would assume, but I don't.
Oh, see, I thought tiebreakers were for because typically in the top cut you have 3 or 4 X2s, and only half of those people will actually get into top cut, the other half don't. So to me, when you said tiebreakers, I was thinking that tiebreaker, not necessarily.
I'm not sure.
The double loss. So I guess we'll have to wait and see about that.
I'm not entirely sure.
I think double loss is always a feel bad. Typically someone should just concede and let someone win, because double loss is just kind of you both lost, so you both it ruins the whole event for everyone, because someone who should have won didn't win, so someone got pared down, and that could just mess up tiebreaker math. And it's double losses, I think, are just the worst thing possible to happen for a tournament, in my opinion.
Agreed. So, it's not ideal.
I do want to kind of go back a little bit to what Dudeness was saying about how the fact that this is FFG is open to feedback, and we've seen that. We've seen them change their stance on playmats and sleeves, which they did announce, by the way. In bigger tournaments, you are also allowed to use any playmat and sleeve you like. That the judge does not.
That is officially in ink now.
Yes,
use anything you want.
That the judge does not rule inappropriate. Within reason, except for feature matches. I think you'll be able to, as long as you're not in the finals or whatever, you should be able to decline to be in a feature match where that won't matter. But I think in those cases, they will provide you with sleeves to use and a playmat for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, also, if you're presumably already using the official, maybe you'll be able to use your own Game Genic sleeves and mat if you were using said things. But, I don't actually know. That's just pure speculation at this point.
Probably for sure sleeves. I would imagine they're probably going to use the Hyperspace 2-player mat, which I really like as a mat.
Yeah,
for
I actually do like the map as well.
Yeah, so I would imagine that will be the one for tournaments that you won't probably get to use your own map, but I could see you getting to use sleeves or blank sleeves too. Like those are going to be allowed. Blank sleeves and FFG sleeves will be allowed on stream. But if you don't want to switch them, as long as you're not in the finals, I'm sure you'd be able to say no. I don't want to be on the feature match.
I can't believe that they're going to make people de-sleeve and re-sleeve a whole deck and sideboard because they have the wrong sleeve. So that seems like, even though they're on camera, that seems a little crazy to me. We'll see if that actually pans out, because like no other card game requires that. I understand if they have like lewd sleeves or something like that, they don't want to put on stream. Totally reasonable, right? And like that's a whole different other topic there. But like, even just like if I have like my outmaneuver sleeves that I have, like they're gonna be, oh, sorry, Jrod, you're gonna have to de-sleeve your whole deck and put it in the blue Star Wars back sleeves. And I'm just like, why? Like,
yeah,
it's still Star Wars related, still your game related. It's just my logo. I don't know. That seems a little odd to me. Like, and it seems like something that most other card games haven't done. So I'm really interested how like the wider community. Like, I don't love it, but like if they're gonna provide me free sleeves to use, that's a different story, right? Like, but if I have to go buy new sleeves because of that, like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think this is going to happen more on FFG events. I think is where it's going to matter, and so I think that's why they will provide. I don't know. They haven't. I don't think they really specified. Well, all this was to say though that FFG clearly has been listening, and even with the idea of changing the tournament software, I'm sure like it seemed like they invested a decent amount into making that product, into launching it out, and the fact that they're giving up on it after really one set, and I applaud them for it, because they're listening to feedback of stores, of players, and they're realizing it's not working. It's not doing what we wanted to. And so they're like, we're going to, even though we wanted to make our own really awesome experience, we're going to understand that we don't have that ability right now. And so we're going to go with a trusted service. So it's great. They're listening to feedback.
100%.
And understanding their limitations as a company as a whole. Like, hey, we couldn't provide what our player base deserves. So we're at the moment with what we have, so we're gonna outsource it to someone who knows how to do it or who can handle it better than us to provide the experience that we're looking for our players. Like that, I appreciate.
Pretty cool.
I want to just as we're talking about all this, I want to kind of take a pause, and for those that maybe have joined recently into Star Wars Unlimited, kind of go over the system they have in place. So, in their idea of Star Wars Unlimited, they have this thing called 3COP, which is collect, connect, and compete. And so, as a TCG trading card game, collecting makes sense. You see that in their showcases and hyperspace variants, foil variants. Connect is getting together and really connecting with the community, playing with people, especially for them. They're emphasizing in-person play. And then compete is playing the game. And they've talked about wanting you to be able to play the game at whatever level you want to. So because of this, they have a casual tier and a competitive tier. In the casual tier, they've got a circle with three main topics, or kind of like three main areas of focus. There's pre-releases, which are going to be, they want to emphasize when a new set comes out, you can gather, play the new set, get new cards. They're going to have the 6-pack experience of a sealed. They're probably going to make those pre-release kits, I think, for every set. We don't know that for sure, but that would be my guess in this idea of emphasizing pre-release. The next one they want that to feed into is weekly plays. So after your pre-release, you show up weekly with a deck and you're playing with people. Generally, this is supposed to be viewed as relatively casual. So especially if you're an experienced player, and especially if you're in the middle of this, if you're already in the middle of the rotation, don't bring your best deck. That's not what that's for. You might be able to crush a bunch of people, but that won't cultivate a community that's going to bring more people into the game and ultimately going to allow you to have more fun. There is a place to bring your competitive deck. That's not what this is for. Finally, in this casual tier, they have the store showdowns. This is kind of interesting to be in the casual tier so far, because for all of us, that's the highest, for most of us at least, that's going to be the highest play we've experienced. Some people might have played in like one case that are separate. So in FFG structure, at least, those are a separate thing. But the store showdown is the highest of the casual tier. And then the store showdowns are going to also feed into pre-releases more. The other category that they have is the competitive tier. In this, the main center thing, what everything in Star Wars Unlimited is going to be building up to, is the Galactic Championship. That, as Dudeness said, is going to happen around probably in the summertime, and it'll happen once a year. Except for Season 0, Season 1 going forward, you're going to be playing in major events, which are going to give you points. And if you get a certain amount of points, you'll earn a spot in the Galactic Championship, whether that be in Day 2 or Day 1. We don't know all the things that are going to happen at these Galactic Championships, but they have hinted that they're going to be pretty awesome. There'll be the main event where people will be playing to be the Galactic Champion, but there'll be other side events as well they mentioned. So we're looking forward to seeing more about that. How do you get these points for the Galactic Championship? There's 3 different kind of qualifiers. There's planetary, sector, and regional qualifiers. We don't know a ton about regional or sector qualifiers, like how often they'd be or how many there'll be, but we do know that regional qualifiers are going to earn us the most points. In their picture graph, they have them high but smaller, less wide, and that means that they're going to be less. There's going to be less of them, but they're going to be worth more points. The next one is going to be sector qualifiers. These ones are a little bit wider and a little bit smaller, and so they're going to be a little bit more often, but worth a little less points. And the final one is planetary qualifiers. This one is in the competitive tier, but this one is going to be at the store level. So where the store showdown is the highest of the casual tier, when it's in stores, in a lot of stores, almost every store, the planetary qualifier is going to also be at the store level, but it's going to be 1 or 2 stores in a city. They did mention that if you win a planetary qualifier, that should give you enough points to qualify for the Galactic Championship. So that's just a quick rundown of the structure that they have for their organized play.
Thank you for that, Faith. The one thing I probably didn't touch upon, they did say the first Galactic Championship will be open registration until capacity is met, wherever that ends up being. So for the first one, it's open, first come, first serve. But then after that, as you said, you're going to have to score some points and earn your way to the championship.
Yeah. It would be nice if they make it like in the middle of the country. That way people from the east and west and the south can come up to a certain state, which is in the center of the country, the most center of the country.
I mean, so there was one really large airport that's really centralized. I think it's called DFW.
I was thinking MSP. That
one. See, I was thinking PVD. Providence, which is like 10 minutes from my house. So
yeah, that's on the East Coast. They don't want to mess those West Coast boys up.
Stay tuned. Yet to be determined where that will be at, but looking forward to all that. You know, the planetary qualifiers obviously is going to be the first taste. We'll see how that goes. If you win that, you get a free Day 2 invite to Worlds. So, like, you get that first day buy. That sounds pretty pog.
Yeah, that is really awesome. One thing that wasn't mentioned that I just wanted to briefly touch on, so I do want to talk about which cards we've been playing, is one thing that they didn't talk about, but I've observed. In Set 1, in the store showdowns, that was the highest event we had. There was no planetary qualifiers yet. Planetary qualifiers will start, though, before we get Set 3. And with the store showdown in Set 1, we had the awesome Mace Windu as the store championship card and the really awesome Takedown just for participating. Both relevant cards, really nice cards. This set, they've been a little bit more or a little bit less interesting, a little bit less practical. And I wonder if that was maybe intentional as shifting away from the competitiveness of store showdowns. And I think that's a good thing ultimately, because what we've experienced so far is store showdowns being the biggest thing, but they're actually in that casual tier. And so I don't think the idea of FFG is for people to drive an hour to go to a store showdown. I think they would rather you play those in relatively close proximity to where you live, where the planetary qualifier is an event you will travel for, or the sector or regionals.
Would agree
to me.
Mm-hmm. So I look forward to seeing what these new store showdowns will be and if cool prizes we can get at planetary qualifiers. As we're talking about Set 2, and particularly looking at maybe which decks you'll be playing in Set 2 or you've been trying out, what's been tickling your fancy?
Mr. Jrod, start us off.
All right. Well, I actually am. I just left from an event today.
Okay.
I was at a new store actually that I had never been to before, so I'm going to shout them out because this is a pretty sweet store. It's
Okay.
the Squablin Goblin is the name. It's located
Wait,
in
say it again.
Squablin Goblin.
I love this. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, it's in Belmont, Mass, and it's a pretty, I'll say, more casual leaning store, but they get between 20 and 30 people every week, mostly for like casual open play. And I went not really sure what to expect at first. I just heard that there was good numbers there, so I like going to new stores, check it out, and I happened to be up in the area, so I checked it out. I brought my Woo inspired, and by Woo inspired I mean the deck that Woo put on YouTube. So if you've seen Woo's video on YouTube, it's the Double Red Han. I talked to him a little bit before I went for some adjustments in the sideboard and a couple adjustments he made from that video. But yeah, so ran that deck because right now the thing that I want to be doing is I want to be playing Poe and Wrecker. They're just insane. So that's what I did. And, I did pretty well. I do think I lost 2 games. I lost 3 games total, but I think I won like 7. The 3 games that I lost, 2 of them were to the same deck. It was a Sabine deck. And all 3 losses were to the same person, but we went 3-3. We played 6 games, and I won 3. He won 3. He was a very good player. So he said he had been to the Pro Tour for Magic. So clearly someone who has the aptitude to play card games pretty well. So yeah, it was a fun matchup. But he beat me with Sabine Green twice. I took 1 game down with Han. It really came down to when he could lane dodge, and I didn't have removal to like really fight that. I couldn't outrace Sabine, which is something that I already knew. And then obviously when he wasn't able to lane dodge, I was able to overpower him with my better units coming out sooner and really take advantage of that. So yeah, I really enjoyed that deck a lot. I don't know if it's necessarily better than Han Green. I haven't fully tested that out yet, but I know some other folks might be talking about that, so I won't dive too much into that. But the double red version was great. I mean, aggression was so much fun. The Rancor was really good. I think that he's a very undervalued card right now. I think if this double red Han deck is going to be a thing, that card will be a very important piece of it.
Yep.
So yeah, and
how has that card felt actually? Because I'm curious to play.
It's been super good. Like just playing a 6/6 that does 2 damage to everything. Like on 5.
Right?
Yeah, like it's just real good. Like people are like, oh man, how do I kill that? Because you can't take it down. Because it's a 6/6, right? Like then because you can fell a dragon it, but like people aren't really packing like 3 fell the dragons and 3 takedowns. It's usually like 2 takedowns. Yeah, it's like
and it still did something when it entered play as well. You still damaged their things. So
correct. And I'm playing Tarkin Town, so like the 2 damage isn't irrelevant there. You can kill something that has 5 HP sometimes.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
You just have to make sure you don't deploy Han first before you play him, because otherwise Han will also take 2 damage, and you really want that to happen.
It's not ideal. But see, it's funny because that deck did interest me. But another deck that interested me was the same boy, Han Solo, but this time with the most broken base in the game, Energy Conversion Lab. So, like, what's not to love? Because Poe and Wrecker are already fantastic cards, but what about if you give them Ambush? Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah, it's everything you can imagine it is. It's fantastic. I've seen builds that are going more late game focused. My build is definitely more. My Wrecker is my top end. I'm trying to top out at Wrecker. I'm trying to nuke a resource, deal 5 damage, clear that board, get the ambush in, like getting an early spark of hope into the Wrecker early to ambush is just like devastating, and it's really it definitely pumps out the damage. I'm in love with it. Our boy Faith is what he turned around to it in the first place. I'm playing a modified build of his original deck list that he showed me, and I'm liking it.
So, Dudeness, are you able to use Han's ability and ECL at the same time?
No, you are not. It is those cards are anti-synergy. So in that regard, it's a little unfortunate, but it really doesn't matter because you're still able to use it on a Poe or Wrecker most of the time, and sometimes you might need to use it on like K2SO. There's Steadfast Battalions in there still, so you still have that if you need it. Lots of targets for ECL to come in. And in addition, it's running 3 Gorilla attack pods on the top end. That's a great energy conversion lab target whenever you can ambush and ready it up afterwards.
And it's even just good with Han in general because you can just bring him out for 5. If you can deal that damage early enough, you can it enters readied if you have damage on their base already. So
ready to go for 6 damage is pretty good.
Yeah, and the fact that you want it to be damaged because it has grit, so it's like easy.
Yep, my build is definitely more aggro focused, low to the ground, popping out at 6, but definitely Crate Dragons are in the sideboard. Sideboard is a work in progress currently, but I definitely would throw Crate Dragons, maybe Timely Interventions, because I feel like those are better the longer it goes. Like those are going to be where they really come into play, given like a second and third wrecker ambush later late game to squeeze in enough damage. That's probably good. So
yeah, I think it's got the highest variance where I think you can build it aggro. One of the things when you deploy Han, it allows you to play any number of units with the discounted cost. So if you have 4 2-cost cards and you deploy Han, you can play them all. So I think you can build aggro if you want. You can build mid range. You can build late game. I think it's just going to be very interesting how you build. I think it's competing with Sabine. I think Sabine Green is still going to be a strong deck. That's not a deck that interests me much, so I'm interested to explore what Han has to offer because I like more of a mid range deck myself.
Agreed. Sure. I'm in the same boat.
Other decks I've been working with, I've been tinkering with my Krennic deck. I'm a big Krennic fan. If people have been listening for a while, know that I did pretty well with Krennic in set 1, and be honest, I don't think that Krennic got as much support as I would have liked in set 2. There are some cards that interest me, looking at like Forlome. Darth Maul, definitely a very good card. The biggest card I'm on is First Light. I think First Light, giving your guys grit, can be very strong, especially if you, the turn before, play a Academy Defense Blocker that has 4 damage on it already from like something like an ECL in, and you get the experience counter, and then playing a First Light, you can swing for up to 11 potentially on the turn 6 there. So that can be a lot if you can kind of make it work out.
I also have a second deck that I've been messing around with mostly for fun and mostly because of the podcast name Outmaneuver. I wanted to play a deck that had that. So I've been playing Kylo with Oops All Ships. That's kind of been a little fun side deck that I've been bringing around playing when I want to have, some interesting matches. It's still pretty aggressive, which is not typically where I like to be, but when I'm trying to play Outmaneuver and make it fun and, do all that kind of stuff, you gotta get funky with it. And Triple Dark Raid really makes that deck hum.
That card is a banger. That card is straight gas, because I also have a Kylo space deck built. My Outmaneuvers are in the sideboard instead of the main deck.
That's disrespectful. I'm going to put you in the sideboard next episode. That's You're going in the sideboard.
But, I mean, basically, the same strat, the same thinking here. Hey, they go ground, you go space. I'm going to play Outmaneuver without race you. It's a good time.
One of us has to take down an event with Outmaneuver in our deck. I think that's going to be like a challenge of ours. Someone's going to try to do it.
I am also playing a Cunning Aggression villain deck. However, my tertiary deck I'm working on is a Bosk yellow deck. And I'm finding the card Bounty Posting interesting, which is a 1-cost event. It lets you search your whole deck for any bounty upgrade, reveal it, and draw it. But that's not all it does. You also are able to play that upgrade. You do have to pay its cost, but it is interesting the fact that on that one card with 1 action, you can grab any bounty and play it on a unit, which is kind of fun for Bosk. Yeah.
Kind of spicy. Especially if it costs 0, you can guarantee to play cards like Guild Target to really squeeze out some extra damage if you need it. Rich Reward if you need experience. I mean, I assume you play all the bounties, because I'm also interested in making a bounty hunter deck with yellow-red Bosk, but I haven't tried it yet.
Man, we are just all the same people, as everyone's now realizing.
Oh.
The thing with bounty posting that's nice is the fact that you can just run less of certain copies of cards because you have access to all of them. It basically counts as 3 generic bounties, so you don't have to So yeah, you can just grab whatever one you need at that situation.
You can kind of have some, like, quote unquote silver bullet type bounties. I don't know if those really exist yet, but you something that you really need for the one occasion. You only can run one copy of it and snag anytime with the bounty posting.
Yeah, definitely something. One that might be of interest is the blue one that heals you life. That could be something. Even though you're paying out of aspect, you can still like just run a one of, and that bounty posting lets you kind of bring it out. Potentially option. Top target.
Top target's pretty good.
I mean, another deck that I was playing earlier today that I was kind of having some fun with is our boy Cad Bane partnering with the usual partner. And that's Energy Conversion Lab. The card is busted. You should be playing it.
I thought you were going to say Xander's Blood.
No. There's 3 copies of that card in here, and that card feels good to ambush with. And it's the when played and on attack ability to exhaust a unit is actually pretty, like, it's been a lot more relevant than I thought it would be initially when we spoiled it, right?
Yeah.
Like, just exhausting a unit with restore, that's huge,
right?
Like, nice knowing you, Ray. You're exhausted now, right? And now you're only 2/6 that I could deal with very easily. But no, Cad Bane, ECL, obviously it's basically Underworld deck. It's got our boy Forlom and Zuckus. Maul on the top end. That card is really just fun to play. Playing Maul feels fantastic.
Are you playing Lady Proxima?
Absolutely. Lady Proxima and Xanadu Blood, 3 copies of each.
Are you playing Outmaneuver? Because it might be the real Outmaneuver deck.
It's not. Outmaneuver is not in this deck. In fact, the deck is very light on ships. It has Cartel Spacer and the Xanadu Blood. That's it.
Ooh, gross.
And for top end, it's got...
Not even playing 7th Fleet?
Nope, because it's not Underworld.
And yeah, but I mean, like...
Yeah, I know, but it's not Underworld, dude. Like, I don't think you understand.
Oh, okay. You're right. I don't get it.
But it's feeling all right. And I have an event coming up tomorrow at Geek Out, trying to figure out what I'm going to play. And it's actually between the Han Solo deck or this CAD ECL deck.
Why not both?
Unfortunately, I cannot play both during the same event. As much as I would like to, like, sideboard out. You know what? I'm going to sideboard in Han Solo, boys. That'd be amazing.
Sorry, just talking about sideboarding. Did we talk about? I think they officially made Store Showdown or pre-releases. Sorry, Best of One. That was another thing that they had mentioned.
Yes, they did mention that, and I'm pretty okay with that because there's some people at pre-releases that take a really long time, and Best of 3 just works against everybody else having to wait the whole time.
I'll be honest, most of my pre-releases have been Best of 1s because I've been like, hey, don't do Best of 3s, it's going to take too long. And they've been like, okay. So
yeah, I can confirm basically every round it's going to take the maximum, and more than likely somebody's still going to be playing, so they get like an extra 5 or 10 minutes or whatever it is to finish out that.
And a lot of people who go to pre-releases, it's their first time seeing the cards, so they're reading every little thing, which is like totally understandable and fine. But
absolutely, 100%.
That's why it shouldn't be Best of 3. It should be best of one.
Yes.
Because listen, no one's in there to be super hyper competitive. Everyone's there to play with the new cards, have some fun, test out some stuff, and try to pull some sweet cards. Like, that's the whole reason people are there. They're not trying to get first place and win everything. I mean, I try to win everything, but like, that's just because I'm weird like that. But generally speaking, people just try to go and have fun.
When speaking for myself, when I go there, I am definitely trying to go 3-0.
For sure.
If I have fun along the way, then pretty cool.
I would say that I generally am. I like when I play. I do like to win, and so I do like playing best of 3s because it's more a thing of a skill. However, and that's just my generic thoughts. However, when I think you look at the structure that they designed, where they're casual and competitive tier, and they look at this pre-releases fall under the casual tier, I think they're doing themselves a good service by making a best of 1 because they feed into that idea of being more casual. So I like it for that.
I think it's an improvement, 100%.
Yeah.
I have one quick thing, Faith, before you start what you're about to start. This is mostly from my locals. Your boy is looking to trade for a hyperfoil Xanadu Blood and a hyperfoil Lady Proxima. This is the only time until our next previews, hopefully, knock on wood, that I will be trading Piper foils. But I'm looking for those, so if you're my locals and you have those, message me, DM me, or hit me up when you see me. So I'm looking to trade for them. Yeah, because I want to get our previews in hyperfoil and get them in cases and keep them. And if we get more down the road and I can do all of that for all of ours, that'd be super rad. So that's kind of the spiel with that.
Jrod will link his Tinder profile below. Hit him up there if you want to get hold of him.
Whoa, listen, I'm sorry. I'm a taken lad, okay? Except for my guy Paul. Paul, winky face.
Oh my God, Paul.
I also want to shout out someone I played, Nikki Mantle. I hope I'm getting your name right. Thanks for the games that we played. I appreciate them. I had a lot of fun.
Ooh. I almost forgot. Today, because it is 7:20, now Saturday morning, it is my guy Marauder Mo on the Discord, or Morgan in real life. It is his birthday, so shout out to him. I only knew that because I was scrolling through Facebook for a minute while we were recording this podcast, and I happened to see it was his birthday.
Well, shout out to Marauder Mo. Happy birthday.
That's pretty cool.
And we will be, since we had some big topics last week and this week and set coming out, talking about this good news, we didn't get to any questions, but we are looking for questions. So join our Discord and you'll find our mailbox channel, our mailbox tab channel. Go in there and give us a question. We'll read them on air and we'll talk about it.
Shout out mailbox.
Thanks, everyone. Let us know in the comments what you plan on playing. What's your go-to deck? Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Outmaneuver.
Cheers, y'all.
Deuces.